Welcome to the Craft Test, everyone. My name is Vanessa, and on today's DIY video, we're going to make this gingerbread dupe cake that Home Goods sells. I made one last year in pastel colors. This year I wanted to make one in a more neutral tone. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook, where I post super quick and easy DIYs, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, where I post new videos every week. Now let's get on with today's project. So for this project, you're going to need 5 circular foam discs, the styrofoam discs. And I put the measurements below so you can see how many you need. This little house, which is an ornament from the Dollar Tree, that's going to be the top of the house. So again, you're going to need 5 of the circular discs, 1 in a 4-inch, 2 in 3-inch circle, 1 a 2-inch, and 1 a 1.5-inch circle. So I'm going to take this piece of cardstock and I'm going to trace all of the circles onto this cardstock, because this is going to be how we're going to cover the top of each of the circles. So let's continue to measure these out, and then we're going to cut. So now that the tops for each of the foam discs has been cut, I'm going to go and cut strips for the edges. I'm going to measure, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces for the larger ones and 1 for the smallest, because that'll be enough to go all around the diameter of the foam disc. So all I do is I place it on the paper, I measure, and I make a line with a ruler, and then I'm going to cut. This way, this paper will give the cake some coverage. I don't have to paint it, and it'll make it look like it's some fondant or something to that effect. So let's continue. So for the second layer of the cake, this is where you're going to glue the 2 3-inch discs together. So with some hot glue, you're going to attach them together. This way it gives the second layer some height. I wanted them to be a little bigger than each other. So I'm going to glue this. This way we can continue and cut the edge on the paper for this, and it'll give us the right width. So let's continue. So the next step is to attach the pieces to the styrofoam discs. I start with the edges first. This way, in case I have to cut any excess, it'll be easier. So I'm going to hot glue one edge, and then I'm going to go around, and then I'm going to use the second piece and match it. This way everything gets covered. So let's continue. So now I finished all the sides on all of the discs. Now it's time to add the tops. All you're going to do is hot glue and just place the piece of cardstock on top of each circle. And we're going to do this to all of them. So let's finish. So now that all of the pieces are covered, the next step is to assemble the cake. We're going to layer each of these pieces on top of each other just with hot glue. So you're going to glue the bottom and then attach them on top of each other. So let's do this part. So now it's time to make the gingerbread cookies. I made templates out of paper, printer paper, and I'm going to trace them on foam board that I got at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to do this for all of the layers. This is the most time consuming part to trace and cut. Now for the biggest house that I made, it is about 2.5 inches in height. The second layer is going to be 2 inches in height, and the smallest is a 1.5 inch in height little house. And what I did, I basically gauged it. I didn't really measure anything out, but I tested it and it looks pretty good. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take a scissor and I'm going to cut them. No special cutting tools. Your scissor will work just fine to cut the foam board. So now that all the pieces are cut, I'm going to use the Americana Deco Art paint in a color that is called Fawn. Now I have 2 paint bottles here. I tried with another one that's called Coffee, but I didn't like it. It was a little too dark. So just completely ignore the fact that I'm going to start painting it with this coffee colored paint. Eventually I'm just going to paint them all with the fawn colored acrylic paint. So here you can see the difference in the color of the 2 paints. Eventually I'm going to go over the darker ones and color them with the fawn acrylic paint. I like it. It's a much lighter color. It gives it that not too burnt cookie color, I guess. And you're going to paint both sides of these cookies. So once one side is dry, you can work on the next. Now that the paint is dry on both sides, I'm going to take the tulip puffy paint, and this is going to be our icing. And here you can draw whatever designs you want on your cookies. I tend to do some simple designs. I'll do the edges, and then I'll do little windows and doors. Again, this is going to be one of the most time-consuming parts because you have to do all of the cookies. And while the puffy paint is still wet, you're going to take some extra fine glitter in white and you're going to pour it over the paint. This way you don't have to use any glue, you don't have to use any Mod Podge, and it will be done in one step. So let's continue. So I'm doing the cookies in batches. This way the puffy paint won't dry. Even though the puffy paint takes a while to dry, I do like 4 at a time, and then I sprinkle the glitter all over them, and then I will continue with the rest. So let's continue. So now I've finished all the cookies, and while they dry, I'm going to take the ornament from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to paint it, because obviously red and green is definitely not matching this piece. So I'm going to use the same acrylic fawn paint to paint the house, and white acrylic to go over the snow. And the trees I'm probably going to do in a very light pinkish color. All acrylic paints, all can be found at Michael's or any craft store, Hobby Lobby, etc. So with a very fine, detailed, small brush, I'm going to paint the house. So let's continue. So while I wait for the house to dry, I'm going to take these snowflakes. These are from the Dollar Tree. You can find them in, I guess, their holiday section now. They have a ton of awesome wood pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tulip puffy paint and I'm going to do designs on the snowflakes. I'm not going to paint them or anything because I think this light wood color is going to match my house. And I'm going to leave them as is. So I'm going to do the designs with the puffy paint, and the same thing, I'm going to sprinkle glitter on them before the puffy paint dries, and this is going to be the edge on the base of the house. So let's continue. So I'm going to add a little gingerbread man to the top of the house. These are also wood pieces from the Dollar Tree. They come about 14 in the pack. And I'm going to paint him with the same fawn colored acrylic paint. Make some designs with white puffy paint and put some glitter, and he will be done. This is one of the quickest things to do here. So let's continue. So I let everything dry overnight. I actually used the puffy paint and I did little scalloped edges on the cake so it could look like icing. I love the way my little house turned out, and all the pieces turned out awesome. So now it's time to hot glue all of these pieces to the cake. So we're going to start with the larger size cookies on the bottom, going all the way to the top with the smaller sized houses. So let's continue attaching all of these pieces to the cake. So now that all the cookies are attached, I am loving how this is looking so far. The next step is to add the finishing pieces, and that includes the house on the top, the snowflakes, and the little gingerbread man. The house is going to be the top ornament on the top of the cake, and the snowflakes are going to go all around the base of the cake. Now, when I started to hot glue the snowflakes, I realized I needed some more. So I have to make at least 3 more, and then I'll hot glue those. So let's continue to add the final pieces to this cake. So now this piece is done, and I'm absolutely in love with the way that it turned out. I think it looks like a really good replica of the one that is sold at Home Goods. For the Cloche tutorial, I will link the video to that at the end of this video. I had done the Cloche earlier in another DIY that I made, so I will link that at the end. But let me know what you think in the comments below on how this turned out. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified when I post new videos. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. See you all on my next DIY.